morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Public and Community Safety Policy and Development and Scrutiny panel. My name is Councillor Craig Meek and I'm the chair of this committee. This meeting is being broadcast live and a recording will be available afterwards on the Council's website. Today I'm being assisted by Julie Whitelaw and colleagues from Committee Services and IT Services. Attendees may join the meeting from another location. Please remember that everything that is said whilst the microphones are live will be broadcast and recorded. Members are asked to be polite, respectful and patient. There is more information, including a privacy statement about meeting arrangements on the Council's website. Apologies for absence. Any apologies for absence?
Thank you, Chair. I have apologies this morning from Councillors Muldoon and Councillor Paul, who is substituted by Councillor Cohen today.
Thank you very much. Any declarations of interest? Nope, not seeing any. Thank you. So the order of business will be as per the agenda. So just before we move on to the first item and only item on the agenda, I just got a wee brief I would like to go through. So today's meeting is an essential step in the process that the Council has put in place to develop and agree its budget for 2026-27 and its long-term financial plan. Because a consistent commitment has been given to bring information to PDSPs on responses to the third phase of Your Council, Your Say consultation. The public consultation will assist in the prioritisation and allocation of resources to activities that have the greatest impact while ensuring that balanced budgets for the remaining 2 years of the 5-year period to 27-28. Considering this detail at PDSP meetings means that West Lothian residents' businesses can see what is being considered before Council makes its decision about council tax and savings. It also means that organisations and partners who are entitled to a seat at the PDSP table can take part in discussions, have their say and have their views noted and taken into account later by councillors. The umbrella organisations entitled to send representatives to PDSPs are the recognised trade unions, the Senior People's Forum, the Youth Congress and any recognised umbrella organisation representing interests of the community councils. The recognised voluntary sector interface in West Lothian, the Race Forum and Faith Forum. The council leader has intimated that all elected members will be invited to PDSPs at which the responses to the consultation and budget setting for 26-27 will be considered. PDSPs can agree to more participants, and I would suggest that the additional elected members in attendance today would be allowed to participate, and I trust that panel members are in agreement with this. Yep. Thank you. There is a big picture about the Council's finances and the pressures on resources and services. Some of that are in the papers in front of us today. However, it's hoped that the PDSP will concentrate more on the services and issues that are relevant here so that we can give it the detailed consideration that it deserves. That's our job on the PDSPs, and that's what we've been asked to do. The Phase 3 consultation responses with the remit of the panel are set out in Appendix 2 of the report. Appendix 3 sets out the potential budget saving options for the service within the remit of this panel. I would ask that you keep the following in mind when we go through each of them. First of all, the saving measures that are First of all, it's important to highlight that the saving measures are not proposals that have been made by councillors. They're suggestions that have been brought forward by council officers to try to help decisions to allow us to then produce that balanced budget. Secondly, none of these have been agreed yet. Decisions will have to be made by all councillors later in February. Some of these proposals may be approved and taken forward, and some of them might not go any further. We have council officers here today to take note of the discussions and points made by councillors, representatives taking part. There are no motions and amendments and voting at PDSPs. Points made through the comments will be noted and they'll be used for a section in the full council's budget setting report about PDSP stage in the process. We will go through the agenda in the usual way. I'll introduce the report and ask for officers to speak to it. More than one officer might speak where there's specialist issues involved. I will invite questions from everyone in the table in turn, and if you have any questions, please make sure that you let me know in the usual manner. As well as the lead officer who will present the report, there is officers present to help assist with answering questions that you may have about the saving measure that you're considering today and detail the content of the report. After we've been through the measures, I'll ask if there's any more questions that might have been missed the first time round. From there, we'll ask for comments. Everyone will have the chance to have their say on the contents of the report. Comments will be made and noted and reported to elected members at full council meetings when budget is agreed. Expressing your comments about the budget saving measures is the best way to influence decisions that are happening later. I hope everyone will help in the whole process and through constructive and respectful comments and being respectful at the meeting. If anyone has any questions about the procedure, or about what's happening after the PDSP meetings, please let me know and I will invite the lead officer to explain the process. So, now that you're all suitably informed of the process, we'll move on to the one and only item on the agenda, item number 4, the revenue strategy for 2026-27 and 2027-28. And I'm going to pass over to Julie to take us through the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The report provides the panel with an update on the Council's financial plan and presents a potential saving option relevant to the remit of this panel to address the Council's budget gap in 2026-27 and 2027-28. Also included in the report are the responses to the Phase 3 Your Council Your Say consultation proposal relevant to the panel. The revised estimated budget gap is outlined in Section D2 of the report. The gap remains provisional as the local government finance settlement and Scottish budget bill process remains ongoing and subject to change. Council agreed at the meeting on the 25th of February 2025 that officers should consider options to address the remaining budget gap, with options to be incorporated into Phase 3 of the public consultation, which was undertaken during the course of 2025. The consultation approach is outlined in Section D3 of the report. For the third stage of the consultation, Council Executive agreed on the 14th of October 2025 an engagement process and timescales. The response rate to the consultation is set out in Section D3 of the report. The Phase 3 consultation comments relevant to the remit of this panel are outlined in Table 4 at Section D3 of the report, and the summary of the comments received in relation to the consultation options being considered by this panel are provided in Appendix 1. Officer responses to the consultation comments are set out in Table 5 of the report, and the analysis of these comments is set out in Appendix 2. Section D4 sets out an additional saving measure which officers have identified and which falls within the remit of this panel. Appendix 3 provides further detail on this proposed additional saving option. An integrated relevance assessment and consumer duty impact assessment have been completed for the saving option being considered by the panel, and this is included at Appendix 4. It should be noted that these will be further refined and developed should the proposal be taken forward. Comments made by the panel in relation to the potential saving option in council services included within the remit of the panel will be considered when the updated revenue budgets for 2026-27 and 2027-28 are presented to Council for approval. The Chair, it's recommended that the panel notes the outcome of the Phase 3 consultation and comments, notes the updated revenue budget gap, notes the officer's saving option being presented to the panel, notes the integrated relevance assessment and consumer duty assessments in relation to that proposed saving option, and notes that following the conclusion of the PDSPs to consider potential saving options, the Director of Finance and Property Services will present an updated 2-year revenue budget strategy for 2026-27 and 2027-28 to full council in February 2026. Chair, I'm happy to answer any questions, and there are officers from services here who can also answer questions.
Thank you very much, Julie. As I say, we'll take it bit by bit, and we'll stop for questions and then comments on each section. So we'll start off with the section D3 in the report, which is page number 4. So that's where D3 starts anyway. So the consultation feedback, your council, your say consultation. Any questions on that? Nope. Any comments on the consultation? Nope. Thank you. Oh, sorry, Linda.
Sloan.
No, that's fine. On you come.
Is
that a question?
One question.
That's fine.
It's regarding the reducing the number of council facilities. Can you enhance on that? What facilities?
So
looked at?
So certainly what we're here today is to look at the saving proposals based on this PDSP remit. So that's not within this remit, unfortunately. Thank you. Any questions on the consultation? Councillor Patel.
Hello?
We can hear you now, thank you.
Oh, sorry. You keep freezing, Craig. It's lovely. It's a portrait of you. Thank you very much. It was just to ask, in D3, it says that you're looking at options such as pest control. And then when we get into D4, it's just pest control. So could I ask what the other services were considered? So
what it would probably be more relevant to bring that in when we're actually looking at the specific measure. So are you happy if we park that question and we'll come back to it?
Yeah, absolutely, Craig. Thank you.
Thank you, thanks. Any questions on the consultation itself? No. Any comments? No. Thank you. So moving on to Appendix 1. Any comments or questions on Appendix 1? Councillor Adamson?
Oh, thank you. On Appendix 1, there were 243 comments, and it's quite comforting to note that supporters felt it was reasonable for businesses and users of optional services to cover the full cost rather than being subsidised. So, based on pest control, I'm so sorry. In comparison to private contractors, would the council be offering a competitively priced service, or would it work out in some way to be cheaper because it's not a profit-making service? I'm just trying to... I personally didn't realise...
Sorry to interject there, Alison. Again, would we be able to park that one because that's specific on the actual measure rather than the consultation as such? So it's just to help with people that are taking the notes. Then it'll help with producing that report for full council. If we could park that one just now and please come back in because it is very relevant. Thank you. Any other questions on Appendix 1 of the consultation response? Councillor Macaulay.
In terms of it said suggestions include careful impact assessment. What is the measures for the low-income households? Are we able to expand on that?
And again, we will come to that because we're going to split it all into sections. So we will be coming to the impact assessment as well. Thank you. Any comment? Nope, no comments. So moving on to Appendix 2. Any questions or comments on Appendix 2? Any comments? Nope. Appendix 4. So the actual, Appendix 3, the actual budget saving measure. Any questions? Councillor Kenner?
Thanks, Craig. The impact on, you mentioned back in D4 about a possibility of the loss of FTEs. There's no mention here. Oh, sorry, I do take that back. I've just recognised.
Not a problem.
It's estimated staffing reduction and you've put 0. So these savings will not have an impact on staff.
That's correct, yep.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions, Councillor Adamson?
Can I ask my question now?
Yes, you
Thank
can.
you. The cost of private contractors, such as Rent-to-Kill, and there are other companies I notice locally. If the council were doing an in-house service, I found it quite hard to understand that it's not making the charge that the council makes doesn't cover the full cost of the service for there are different types of service, and I understand that it can be, it's not a set price. It will depend on the amount of work that's being involved. But what I'm trying to understand is, would the council be cheaper than any private contractors, or would it be on a similar pricing structure? Is in-house cheaper than outsourcing is basically what I'm asking.
Craig? That's you. That's you now. Yep.
Sorry, Chair.
No, that's okay.
I think after all this time would be used to the technology. Chair, I'll start with the response to that if I can, and then Craig Smith will come in with a detailed response in terms of the costing there. But Chair, just to set out the context on this. So currently we deliver a service, have delivered a service for a long number of years. The cost of delivering that service is less than we recover in terms of income for the service, and that is the focus of the figure that's in the paper there. So that's essentially the difference between the cost of delivering the service and the fees that we bring in. It does vary a little bit from time to time depending on a whole load of factors, including weather conditions, because that impacts on the types of treatments that we deliver. But as I say, just to focus on that being the difference between the cost of service delivery and the fees that we recover. And Chair, just worthwhile making one additional point there. Our income comes principally from two sources. Some of that is internal, so we deliver services to other parts of the council together with delivering services to members of the public. But in terms of the comparative cost of the service with external providers, Craig Smith will cover that if you're okay with that.
Thanks very much, Craig. Craig Smith.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, certainly just going back to that, that was one of the key things we looked at when we did a review of the pricing for pest control 2 or 3 years ago. It's difficult to get specifics, but there are generally some sort of average figures out there in terms of different pest treatments and what people would expect to pay if they contracted someone from the private sector. And in terms of that, the council performs very well in terms of best value. It is generally lower cost to deliver that service. That's not to say that we are undercutting in any way or acting inappropriately. What we do is price the treatments based on how many visits we would carry out, hourly rates, etc., etc. But the council still performs very well in terms of comparison if somebody was to use a private pest control contractor in terms of average pricing from that point of view. So we're quite happy that people are getting from best value from that point. The other thing to say is that a lot of the times people will have the option to look at some form of self-treatment as well in the initial stages to see if that can rectify the situation for them. So that's another thing to consider rather than just a price point.
Thank you very much, Councillor Adamson.
Yeah, thank you for that information. So basically, it's not so much a saving, but an increase in income that's been part of this budget. Just going back to the self-treatment, I know a lot of people who have used self-treatments. Is there anybody that's available to give advice on that kind of information for people who may not want to pay for service to use the pest control team?
Craig?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I mean, we don't charge for advice. So pest control officers will give advice to members of the public. Actually, we do regularly, routinely. We're often approached by people who are just looking for advice in the first stages of a problem that may be occurring. So we continue to do that where required. I think that's an appropriate use of the service to members of the public.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep, that's very useful. Thank you.
Councillor Paddle.
Hello.
That's you now. Thank you.
That's great, thank you. So it was just to go back to my initial question. In the initial sort of proposal, it says services such as pest control, and then when we get to the actual proposal, it's just pest control. So I was just wondering what the other services were that had been considered and then discarded.
Could I bring in Craig McCorrison, please?
Yeah, thanks again, Chair. So, as the lead officer said in presenting the report, this is a process that has gone through various stages of refinement to get to the proposal which we have here. We looked at a range. The council looked at a range of potential fees and charges. Those will feature in the wider budget report when it comes forward later in February. But in terms of my contribution, my service contribution to the required savings, we've focused down specifically into the pest control side of things because we felt that was the area where we could best achieve a saving while minimising the impact on customers and consumers. Thanks, Chair.
Craig, can I say that was the best non-answer I've ever heard? Thank you very much.
Any other questions, Councillor Paddle?
No, I'm okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Councillor Macaulay.
Thank you. I just wanted to come back in again and ask about how this will affect low-income families.
Craig Smith.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yes. So the current fee scheme, when it was introduced many years ago now, the council agreed that low-income households would be able to receive a concession. It's 50% concession on fees at this time. And obviously the other consideration is that housing pay for tenants' treatments as part of the housing revenue budget, so they don't have to pay for the use of the service. That's covered by housing. So that generally covers most of the concerns I would suggest at this time.
And what about those within the private sector that are renting?
Again, they would have the 50% concession if they met the criteria for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any comments? Oh, sorry. Yep. Sorry, I thought Councillor Adamson. Yep.
No, I'm relieved to see that council tenants can access the service for pest control free of charge, but housing associations don't. Now, I don't understand why they don't. I would have thought that any landlord would have the responsibility for dealing with any pest control within their properties. So is there any legislation or is there any kind of ruling that says that landlords should take responsibility for their tenants?
So thanks very much for your comment. So certainly, but we will bring in Craig. We don't usually respond to comments, but I think it's quite important to be clear on that response. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Yes, no. I mean, that would be entirely up to the other social landlords or private landlords to decide how they wanted to manage the letting of the properties. There's no specific legal requirement that say that a landlord must cover that. They can decide that that's a tenant's responsibility. However, the legal position is that property and landowners have a duty under public health legislation to deal with any pests that are likely to give rise to statutory nuisance or public health concerns. So it's not specific in terms of who must pay, but there is a general duty that somebody must ensure that the problem is dealt with. And initially that may be the occupier of the property, so that would be the tenant, and failing would be the landlord as the owner of the property.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Councillor Patel.
Yeah, thanks very much. It was just to say that we've been in the unfortunate position where we've needed to use pest control services in the past, and after looking at various different options, we always come back to the council because we trust you guys. You provide such a good service. We trust the advice that you're giving us. So I would just like to say thank you very much for everything that you do offer. And I'm really pleased to see that the service is going to continue. And speaking from a personal capacity, we are happy to pay more just because of the trust that we place in the service that's offered. So thanks very much.
Thank you. Any other comments on the Appendix 3? No. And Appendix 4, the integrated impact assessment. Any questions on that? Any comments on that? Nope. That's grand. So lastly, just before we finish off, any comments or questions that you've not asked that hasn't fitted into any of the parts that we've covered in terms of what we're considering today? Any comments? Nope. That's grand. So certainly that brings us to the conclusion of today's meeting, and just want to say obviously thank you very much for coming along to the meeting and sharing your views and asking the questions. It's quite important as councillors that we take that opportunity to scrutinise what's in front of us and help to shape the way forward for obviously the next decisions that we need to now take. So thank you for your time.